Welcome to Money Talk with Aaron Ricketts, presented by Ricketts Associates, 3245 North Adrian Highway, Suite F. The opinions voiced on Money Talk are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial, or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Welcome back to Money Talk. Aaron's in the studios here with us this afternoon. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, John.
Okay, we talked last week about the seminar, but we're not done talking about it, so let's hit that one again.
All right, let's keep going. As a reminder, we talked about it last week, Social Security Planning Workshop. It's going to be on Tuesday, December 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Lenawee Votech. You have to call us for reservations. We only have about 30 seats at max, and there's been at least half the time that we have a full house, and we have to, unfortunately, turn people away. 265-3540 is the number. Call and talk to Karen, and she will get your reservation in. My quick note is, often, people ask, well, why do I need to go, or what would I need to learn about that? Who should attend? Anyone age 58 to 66, or if you're past 66 and still working and not drawing your Social Security check. If you're single, divorced, remarried, retiring soon, or a widow. So I'll focus on that: divorced, remarried, and a widow. Of course, retiring soon is kind of a no-brainer, right? If you want answers to those questions, that's what when you really need to come talk to somebody about Social Security planning. But divorced, remarried, or widow, we like to see those people come in because at least once, like I said last week, once a seminar, we learn something new and we find somebody who probably could do something different and get more benefits, or maybe could have. But it helps everybody learn from that. So,
and if you're hearing this for the first time and you didn't hear it last week and you're interested, better call right away, because those slots, there are not a lot of them and they fill up.
Right. And this may be our only Social Security workshop this year, or before, this year, before, let's say, spring, because we get a little busy and somebody goes away to Florida. Not me. The other Ricketts.
That's the old
I shouldn't
father-son love right there.
I do slip down there here and there, but I don't go for months at a time yet. I'm ready to. It's already winter. Wasn't it like this last year? It got cold quick, and
I try not to remember.
Let's not think about it or talk about it. Okay, let's just talk about Social Security in general, and maybe some specifics, but things to know about Social Security: that you have many claiming options. Decisions are far-reaching, and they have consequences, for those decisions. A choice that you make can impact your spouse. Okay? The system is not bankrupt, and it's not a Ponzi scheme. Benefits likely helped a family member. They're likely to help a family member. Your friends are not experts. Now, they might get it right once in a while, but friends, your neighbor, your cousin, on your best friend's wife's side of the family, I'm telling you, everybody's situation is different. And I said last week, about 50 to 60% of people have to draw their Social Security at retirement age, at 62, let's say, because they have to have that income. I get that. But that leaves another 40 to 50% that have options. So that's the people we want to talk to. What baby boomers want to know, because we're still in that baby boomer retirement mode. I'm in the next generation. I'm 53, so I'm in that Generation X. And who knows what we are. I know we're a small group, but compared to the baby boomers, certainly. But the baby boomers right now are the ones that need this information. So they ask, will Social Security be there for me? How much can I expect to receive? How much is my check going to be? When should I apply for Social Security? How can I maximize my benefits? And will Social Security be enough to live on in retirement? All those questions are what we answer in our office day after day after day. These are the conversations we have. You've heard this term like the three-legged stool for income. You know, you have your fixed income, you have maybe the money you saved, and you're receiving some of that, what we call variable income, because depending on, you know, investments or return, how much money will be coming in. And then pension, you know, that could be another part of the leg. So Social Security is just a part of that. And I'm amazed that when we have these conversations, or I do a financial plan for somebody, I should say a retirement plan, because we're just talking about the money part, and we look at the data, and it shows that their ability to retire could have been 2 or 3 years before, or their ability to retire, meaning getting the same income into their bank account that they received while they were working, is almost the same as in retirement. Because a lot of people feel that Social Security just isn't enough and there isn't a lot of it. Well, depending on when you retire, how big your check is, how big your spouse's check is, and all these other rules that are associated with it, you'd be surprised how much more we can get from Social Security. You know, grow that income level to get 40% of what your working income was, or 50% or 60%. It is feasible, and we see it day after day after day. So don't think that you're one of these cookie cutter Social Security beneficiaries. You might not be. Let's talk about the ability for Social Security to pay us our checks for the rest of our life, right? Because it probably is more of a concern for me or my daughter, right? That next generation. But long-term projections are, without any reform, benefits are expected to fall to 79% of what they currently are in 2034. So what that means is, from now to 2033, there's going to be enough money coming in, right, from all payroll contributions, those of us that are still working that pay those FICA taxes, or payroll taxes, what they are called. There's enough money in there to pay the beneficiaries. Those are the ones receiving those checks through 2033. And then 2034, it's reduced significantly. And then 2092, it's reduced even more. So that's a long way out. I shouldn't say 2034 is not that far out, 14 years now. But 2092, of course, is. So those reforms that have been discussed are this: increase the maximum earnings subject to Social Security tax. Many people don't know this because we don't make $132,000 a year. But once you reach that gross income level, that person does not pay any more Social Security taxes. The employer doesn't, and the employee does not. So they only pay up to that amount. So that's just a fixed amount that's paid into the system. Then there's nothing else. So they could increase that, right? They can increase it maybe to 200,000, to 500,000. Of course, there's some out there that say, you know, it should be unlimited, right? All that earned income should be subject to Social Security tax. That's an option. And I think it's listed number one as a bullet point on these slides that I'm looking at, because that's probably the most feasible. Do you remember those times when you would get to September, October, John?
No.
When
no.
you'd reach the maximum Social Security?
No.
Well, there were times back then. And people older than you probably remember those times. When I started working, with my real job, not this one, the one I had before, I had, folks talk about that, that had been there 20 years or longer, and said, hey, we used to, now I have to pay Social Security taxes, after a certain, now it's from 35,000. Now it's 132,000.
Yeah. When you asked me that question, I almost did a Scooby-Doo, Oh?
Another option is, right, to restore the solvency is to raise the normal retirement age. It's currently 66 for those that were born between 43 and 54, and it's 67 for those that are born 1960 or later. That would be me. So I'm now age 60. So what that also does is, for those of us born after 1960 now, it reduces the age 62 benefit by 30% instead of 25%. So we get less now already. And that was changed during that Reagan era. They made some solvency changes because it would have run out of money somewhere in the 2012, 2015 time, I believe. Third option might be to lower benefits for future retirees. No! Now we're talking about me. An option would be escalate benefits based on increases in consumer prices other than wages. But the whole idea would be to lower the benefit for the rest of us. And all we're doing is trying to keep pushing this thing out, right? Because people are living longer. Checks are, getting larger, some, and it's costing the system much more money. The last thing here is reduce the cost of living adjustments. But that's really tough for those that rely on those cost of living adjustments. And we don't see large cost of living adjustments that haven't for the last 10 years, but still the average is right around 2% annually. Well, after 10 years, let's say you retire at 65, you start drawing your check. So at 75, if you receive 2% a year, 2 times 10, that's 20% increase in your check. That's helping you stay up with the price of gas, the price of food, and rent, with everything, right? Because it continues to go up, especially every 10 years. All right, factors to consider when deciding when to apply. And I'm talking about issues that we're going to talk about in our seminar. So I'm just kind of giving you a precursor. This is what we're going to discuss. The number one issue that I say every time we start talking about Social Security, if you're thinking about delaying, or you haven't thought about it, but I may be promoting it or want you to think about it, the first thing is your health status, right? Because if you don't take your Social Security at your earliest date and you pass away young, you will or could have left money on the table, we call it, right? You didn't take what you could. And, that's a personal decision. And I always tell people it doesn't change my life. If anything, if you delay, often you need to supplement with your 401k or your retirement account. Well, if I'm managing that and you're taking more than, what you're earning, which you probably would have to do, which I see it because we recommend that, I get paid on assets under management. So if you have $100,000 and you're taking $10,000 a year for 4 years, and that thing goes from 100 down to, 60 or 70 with, gains, you just reduce my paycheck, right? Because I charge a fee on that. But it's in your best interest. It could be to do that. So health status. How old did your parents live? Your siblings? I had somebody I just talked to recently that said, my father died when he was in his 60s and my mother passed away in her mid-70s. I'm taking my Social Security at 62. Understand. His spouse, my brother, died at 48. My mom and dad both passed away before they were 70. I'm taking my Social Security at 62. Understand that completely. You want to get what you can. Whole conversation is about maximizing, right, your Social Security. So health status, life expectancy, your need for income. I said 50 to 60% have to take Social Security. You take it. Whether or not you plan to work. If you plan to work, let's think about delaying at least a full retirement age. And then think about your survivor, right? If something was to happen to you in this world we live in, especially those baby boomers still today, it might change with my generation and certainly with my daughters. The income levels were different, right? For the last 30, 40, 50 years, meaning the men made more than the women because the women often, have to take off work for child rearing and the jobs that they were allowed to work in, right? That's what the rule was back then. Well, that's changed. Socially is changing. So we see the man, the husband has the bigger check and the wife has the smaller check. So as the man with the bigger check, you think about survivor needs. If you grow your check and something happens to you, that check passes along to your spouse. If you take the smaller check, it's possible she's going to get that smaller check for the rest of your life if something happens to you if you die young. Think about those things.
Okay, just review one more time when.
The workshop will be held Tuesday, December 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Lenawee Votech, and that's just north side of Adrian. And you have to call for a reservation, and the number is 265-3540.
All right, Aaron, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That's Money Talk with Aaron Ricketts, presented by Ricketts, Ricketts & Associates, 3245 North Adrian Highway, Suite F. The opinions voiced on Money Talk are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Join us once again next week for Money Talk here on 103.9 WLEN.